What you gonna say and do? I can't tell you.
Hello, you are here on the Walter Schmid Show one more time. Hello, how are you doing? Everybody who is listening and watching. Now today we have a little bit of a special day. Why? It's not always the same special day, but I have a guest. His name, Doc Reo.
You know what time it is, folks. That's right. It's time for more IG with Doc.
He's in the radio, in the TV. He's a very excellent coach when it comes to communication as well, speaking and much more, but I don't want to go too deep in that. First of all, I want to thank you because I'm honored to have you here on my show. Doc Reo, tell me and us a little bit about you. Who are you? What are you doing?
How you doing? How you doing, Walter? It's great to be here, and thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Oh, wow. I've been a jack of all trades, I want to say. I've been one of those person who grew up in entertainment media, and wow, I grew up in entertainment media as a performer, as a child, and went through entertainment media, went to the military, came out of the military after doing music and television and acting and singing and dancing, and transformed into going into jewelry sales, high pressure sales, and then ended up back in entertainment, producing film, television, press kits, and multimedia. Now back in school for education. My focus now is learning experience design. So I'm taking all that multimedia experience and I'm culminating it all to one to help others learn how to use multimedia effectively. So I build courses doing that now.
Well, it sounds like a very challenging journey you had behind in your life. You went almost to everything from top to down to everywhere to everything you strive a little bit through, and the experience that you brought with you now in this nowadays time. You're trying really to transform other people that I understand right. And it's interesting that we have some things kind of in common. You've been in the military. I used to serve the police force, so we have some things that goes very close.
Indeed.
Interestingly enough, I changed a lot of in my life, what I was doing in the corporate world, not in the show business. Nevertheless, I attended a class, an actor class once with a pretty well-known personality from Los Angeles,
Nice.
But not as much as you did. And now I have really this great question to you, because with all those informations, what is it exactly you do? I still don't understand. What is it that you serve people with the radio, with television, with all this transformation stuff? What is it about?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I thank you for asking that, because it's been challenging for me to transform all the things that I've been doing, because I have been creating jobs for myself, and that's been the problem. I wasn't aware of that. I've figured I was running businesses, but I wasn't really aware of that difference in mind thinking until I met our coach, JT. And so this whole transformation has been new for me. So for me, what I do is I build a learning courses, and I design learning courses specifically to help people use multimedia so that they can understand how to use either whether it be anything from using PowerPoint or Microsoft Office to Adobe CC Suite, where you're using Photoshop, where you're using Adobe Premiere Pro, where you're using After Effects, or even a lot of people don't even know how to use Adobe Media Encoder or Adobe Audition for sound. So these tools, could span from anywhere. And so it's kind of challenging when we focus on that, especially now today, that we have a lot of people in transition, especially like you said, being people who have been in service to the government and are used to certain things. Maybe government service in the police force might use certain types of software that when you get out into the civilian world, you're not used to using. And so a lot of these pieces of software I've used and gotten proficient with it. But even if I haven't, I'm pretty quick at picking up how to use different pieces of software. And so I've built training courses on software I didn't even know about. I understand it all, and just started the process on how to teach other people how to use that course in that company. Or even this, we built training programs for What if it's sexual harassment training? What if it's a workplace ethics training? So these are things that we build courses for, or I specifically like to design courses for, but as a company, Doc Reo Media LLC designs courses for.
Mention one more time, what is the name of the company?
Doc Reo Media LLC.
Is there also a website?
Yes, docreo.com. It's in transition because we are actually building in a new course site that we've put up. We've actually restructured a whole learning management system. We call it LMS. So if you heard that out there, LMS, that just means a learning management system, basically a content management system that is designed for putting courses on it, designed out to build courses and of course build funnels for those courses.
Now, you have a lot of different things done in your life, and you're still totally on fire. This is not very usual. So there must be something that you have either way in your DNA, or what is it that keeps you so much on fire and just keep going? And you have achieved so much after all those jobs and military and sales and all those activities from here to there to everywhere. But you did so much, and you are on a place, on a situation which a lot of people would like to be, but they aren't. What is it that keeps you so much on track?
That's funny that you asked that question. I've thought about this for a long time, on and off, and I never like to say this because I'm a Sagittarian. I'm a showy type, in your face, live type person, that I have a bit of humility that I didn't think I had, and I didn't notice it. And I think part of that humility is because I never looked at the things that I've done as being too big yet. I don't think that I've seen the highest height of what I wanted to do. And now that I'm retired, it's like, now I get to play in that field. Now I get to have fun with it and say, okay, let's see how far I can take things, where I think before I was always worried about, I have to achieve this particular goal, or I have to, it's a behavioral thing. I've always had a smile on my face. I've always been this fun-loving, outgoing type of person. So that part of me actually helps. But I think, as my mom said, I've always, through my behavior, had this intrinsic value for learning, learning how to do more with media, or learning how to do more with music, or learning how to do more with entertainment consistently. And so I'm always digging and learning, and that value, and not just in media, but that value just in learning educational stuff. I mean, I'm going to school at USC right now for a master's in education. I originally supposed to be going to USC for music. Well, then later years, I was originally supposed to be there for film and television. Dropped that opportunity. Both opportunities I passed up, and now I'm in school for education. The third time's a charm. And not too many people get an opportunity to go to this particular type of private school that many times. I mean, there's people paying illegally to get in this school. So these honors, I think, come from a lot of positive energy. And as I was telling someone else, I'm a strength finder lover. I love strength finder because I think it's opened up a world for me mentally to understand that my top 5 strengths, even though there's 34 of them, but my top 5 strengths are winning others over, communication, positivity, consistency, and futuristic. And when we talk about the first 3, winning others over, communication, and positivity, I think that's the most powerful thing that people get from me, and they feel comfortable, or not everybody, but a lot of people feel comfortable when I'm in their presence, and they feel welcome, and they feel like they're part of the community. And I think that's the most important thing. The more we welcome people, the more we share things with people, the more we connect with people, the more we grow individually. And I've learned that recently. And I mean, it's taken me years of going up the scale, losing it all. I worked for Universal, I lost it all, and ended up on Skid Row. Woke up on the curb on Skid Row, said, what am I doing? Went back into education. And it's because of that, I think, that I've been waking up to the power of communing and unity, making community.
It's interesting because nowadays, with this corona issue that we have, not only nationally but globally, with a huge impact into almost, or actually every industry, most of them negative, others positive, and others they don't know what to do with. Now, in this perspective, with your experience that you have made so many changes in your life, and you always could find out a way into another direction. Now, for all those listeners here, what would be your biggest advice on how to deal with those issues to be really ready for something new, not being scared too much or at all, to have an open door to create new jobs or to create new activities in terms of getting another job, another company, and being successful? What is it?
That's a challenging question. And I think that I have to explain it this way. When the pandemic hit, I was working on 88.5 KC Sun, the radio station there, as an editorial assistant. This was just a side gig while I was finishing some schoolwork, but at the same time, I really enjoyed being there, helping other students learn how to be journalists, learn how to be better radio broadcasters. I mean, as a program director, I found that, at kpcradio.com, I love that opportunity. And I think that opportunity also opens up the opportunity for them to create intellectual property, which is our most important tool. When you ask that question, to me, it's challenging to say what will work for everyone, because everyone's so different. Everyone sees the world different. And as I've been growing as a learning designer, it's been really challenging to figure out how to motivate different people to change their life. So, like, for instance, you have a person who doesn't know anything else but one particular job. And when it comes to this pandemic, they've changed, and now they have to figure out how to work online in a different format. It's either been not the job that's been motivating them, but the reason behind them wanting to learn that format is what we have to find out. And so that's the hardest. I think that's the hardest part right there for me. If a person doesn't know that part, it's now become a coaching session of motivation, and talking to them and saying, you can do this, and saying you have to believe in yourself. And so that is that transition of, if the person doesn't believe in themselves, then how can they actually take that change? But if there's a person that believes in themselves, it's going to be a lot easier for them to pick up on something new and take that change. So I think the most important part is belief before we can retrieve information that we would go out to achieve our goals so that we can be successful.
And this would some things be that you offer to people to get your coaching, to get not only motivated, but also find their own way on how to motivate themselves and to figure out what will be the next step.
Yes, I have been, for me, I'm now a master NLP practitioner, registering right now, in the process, finalizing the registration with the International Guild for Neurolinguistic Programming. That's what NLP stands for. So this whole thing is, I started that training because I realized there was a lot of behavioral stuff that I still had to learn as well about implementing my business and doing things. And I think that type of training and that kind of learning, compared with the education process, I think it's helping me guide people a little bit more. And I think that's the most important part. It's we can open up our minds to stuff, but I think a lot of people miss things because it's not scaffolded, it's not built up for them. And I know I've lost track of my question or the answer to the question just now, but at the same time, I feel like there's an answer in what I'm saying here that's coming out that I can't get to. So I want to ask you to repeat that question one more time, because there's a main point that I missed, and I want to make sure I hit that for those listening in, because I think there's an importance when we talk about cognitive based theory, when we talk about our mind, retraining our mind for change. It's challenging in a way that we kind of have to learn how to unpack certain things for ourselves. And it may be, this is the biggest problem. It may be, for some people, it may be suicidal ideation that they may have to unpack. And it may not be as big as they thought. It may be something as small as, being wild enough to want to drive fast on the freeway to where you could be scaring a passenger, but you have this little bit of suicidal ideation because it's a thrill seeker thing, you know, where you might need to unpack that to learn how to connect with that person in the car next to you, you know, that you scare all the time driving, you know, and this is just a little personal thing, or it could be something as big as racial discrimination that you're trying to overcome in order to move up in a company or career. So that's why I really need you to ask that question.
Well, I can turn it a little bit into a different frame, perhaps, that for people who are there and listening to this or viewing even to this one, that what is it that they can change or how they can change themselves, that they get either way motivated or finding their own way on how to motivate themselves, the source in themselves to get self-motivated, that they are independent from others, to also find by the end their ways and what they want to do and where to go and what will be the next step.
Yeah, that's that. I get where you're. We've gotten into training recently, training people motivationally, and so this is still new, and that's why I went into NLP. But I think the major step is the first thing is belief, and the I think the major step everybody needs to take is first, when we unpack stuff to clear our mind so that we understand what we have. And so we have to dig into those skills, and we have to dig into what we already know and what we already are comfortable with so that we can make ourselves uncomfortable, you know. And so for that, I think the most important thing is belief. And I have this extra part of belief. I think we have a problem in the world today believing that Maslowian wrote the pyramid, he structured the Maslowian pyramid that way for us to be reaching up for things. And that's, I think, our biggest problem. Everybody's always reaching up, like, oh, I got to reach up or I got to climb up. When the whole thing starts with that intellectual property that we can create, because the value of money is only valued upon the intellectual property we put out there, right? So whether it be a product or service or even a talent that we're putting out there, that's our intellectual property. So the Maslowian pyramid says we sit on the bottom looking for the needs, our basic needs, our safety needs, our relationship needs, our emotional needs, and our self-esteem needs before we even get to self-actualizing where we want to be. Yeah. So the only way we can believe is by self-actualizing where we want to be first. And then, as JT always says, you know, taking it, you know, working your way back, re-engineering the process so that you could backwards engineering to get to the figuring out how you get to that point. Everything is that way. And our biggest problem is that when we go to school, we learn from school how to do things, and then we go out in the world and test it. But life isn't like that. Life is go out and test it and then figure out the learning situation on the back end. Yeah. So we end up running into a wall. And so with the Maslowian pyramid, the only way we can pass that wall, I think, is by turning the pyramid upside down, invert the pyramid, start with self-actualization, and then walk down the pyramid, put ourselves at the top, say, I am here. This is what I plan to do with my life. This is where I'm going. Do everything for that plan. And when we do everything for that plan, we start to backtrack. We start to imprint the plan in our own mind. We start to write it down. We start to take these steps. But the most important part is that self-actualization, and it comes with belief. So belief and targeting what we want to do because we believe in ourselves. I mean, I look at people all the time investing in things they don't even understand, but not investing in themselves and their own belief in themselves. And we should be the number one person we believe in. So
that's a nice picture, the upside down pyramid, to really start. I would say start at the top, but at the bottom.
Yes, exactly.
Sort of
exactly.
That leads me to a question in terms of negotiation, communication. Whatever I address, with whomever I address anything, it's all about communication. When I can communicate, I can reach the goals better than when I cannot communicate. And to understand what communication is, in my experience, we don't learn that. That's cool. How important do you see coaching? We know both of us, JT, he's a great coach. Amazing. But your personal experience, when I ask you, how important do you see coaching in the business world?
I see coaching as the most important part of the business world now. I didn't understand that before. For me, that's why I missed the boat, I think. And I don't mean I missed the boat completely, but I missed the boat that I was already on. I was already on the boat. How did I miss it? It's because I didn't have a coach. I was already up to this point of producing, and I was like, what? That's it? And even with my business partner, we had complications. Had I had a coach to go talk to about those complications and sit back and maybe take a different look, I might have had more emotional intelligence to deal with the situation. And I think that was a problem. I didn't have the emotional intelligence to deal with how I was working with my business partner in a certain area. And when I got upset and wanted to walk out. And for him, this type of walkout, he thought I was walking away from the business. And so he got upset as well. Between us both being upset, we said a few things and we separated the business. After that, I was like, well, I made it to my goal, but what else to do? I still didn't have any guidance. And see, I think that's the most important part. I think every time we'll reach a point in our business that we'll ask, what do I do next? How do I continue to grow? Yep. What can I do? And I think it's challenging when people don't have somebody who's been there before helping them along the way. You see, we need coaches, mentors, and sponsors. The coaches are back behind us, coaching us, but they've also been there before. At least that's the kind of coaches I choose. Somebody who's actually ahead of me. Yeah. A mentor is supposed to be right next to you, but they're also I choose somebody who's ahead of me because that's the only person who's going to give me that experience. And then also a sponsor. A sponsor is supposed to be ahead of me, reaching out and pulling me up. But they're, of course, ahead of me. So if these people are ahead of me, then they've had experience. Then I don't have to run into that wall that we were talking about earlier, where I'm sitting there not knowing any answers and not knowing what to do. And then I run into a wall and I lose it all. Or I just, as we said earlier about us not knowing not knowing what we don't know. And because I don't know what I don't know, it helps to have somebody there before me who's had that experience, failed, and says, hey, you might want to do it this way so you don't fail, and then I can choose whether or not I want to listen to it. That's where that's important. You have that understanding. You can get 3 or 4 or 5 of them and listen to them and go, oh, okay, this is what I need to do.
When it comes to yachting or super yachts, regular yachts, whatsoever. It is a completely different world of people, not only the owners, but also those who sell the boats, maintain the boats, supply the stuff that are needed on the boat, and everything that goes around is pretty different than to whatever is here on this planet, what I figured out. Now, with your services, with your experience, with your power, with your positivity, which is missing a little bit in this field of yachts and super yachts, and many are still too serious because it's a tool that you don't need. It's not a necessity. Really, some things for fun. Is there anything that you would see for those kind of markets that could be very interesting for those people to have in their pocket?
I'm a yacht fan. And I have to say that because I've always been a yacht fan. I've always been a boat fan. And, if I was just talking about that with my buddy, I'm like, is the boat working? Can we go out and get on the boat this summer? We kind of need that. And I'm looking at the fact of there's a few things here. I think there is a necessity for us all to be around water, to experience the energy that comes from water. Just as much as there is that experience that comes from fire, like a fireplace or fire pit, that experience that comes from air, that experience comes from land. We have to have those 4 elements in our life, circulating through our life, it keeps us balanced.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important for people to spend time yachting. I think it's important for people to spend time on a boat. I think, that energy, I don't know if you've noticed lately, ever since the pandemic, more people are out on boats lately having a good time like they've never been on a boat. And I'm like, wow, you could tell they've never been on a boat. You could tell. And it's that experience that people haven't had before that they really need. They should have. And they should experience what it's like to be gliding across water. I mean, yeah, it's choppy sometimes. Yeah, it's bumpy sometimes, but gliding across water and then taking a break out in the middle of water and being able to, within that break, see like a horizon, a sunset, the land. I mean, this whole experience, and do it with family, being able to sleep in a cabin on a boat when it's rocking. I mean, there's so many experiences here that are exciting and peaceful and calming and balancing. And that's what we need. We have to take that time. Some of us go get massages. Some of us, do things, that exercise wise, some of us have like exercise programs that we go out and do, our Peloton or whatever it may be to kind of burn off some of that energy, to kind of keep that peace. Meditation, yoga. That's what I was thinking about, meditation and yoga before. But how about a trip out on a boat? Why not do the yoga on the boat? Spend time with family on a boat, get some sun, thrive, live, dream. That's the exciting part, I think. And I know that, if you can't afford to buy one, rent one. That's that opportunity we all have there. So
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that, with those four elements anyway, and with water, which I love a lot. And by the by the way, also the fire. Not that I would burn some things down, but the fire as such, as a little kid already, was always interesting to me. But the water really get me. And I think with your show, with your personality, it would be a huge enrichment in the yachting world, because you bring in some things that most of others don't or cannot or don't have experiences. But that is something that I really have a feeling for, that you fit also in this industry totally good, because it's something that people, they don't want to hear because they don't know it. Once they experience once, they realize, oh, hold on, there is something else as well that we can implement in our lives, in our yachts, on our yachts, or on the shore, whatever it is, or listen to it. I think that's something that you could also strive for. What would you say when you would have the opportunity to be more in this field? What would that change for you?
Oh, wow. That would be great. That's one of those things that I've thought about, for mostly my second or third retirement, should I say, because I am retired now. So I've always thought about, okay, second retirement. When am I going to get the yacht? When am I going to get the boat or the sailboat, or which one am I going to do? Because people who I've been around in some cases influence me by showing me what the yacht lifestyle is like. And what the sailboat lifestyle is like. Both of those together have changed my perspective of water. So have reminded me of how much I love being recharged by water. And so for me, that would definitely change my whole perspective a lot. Being able to be around more people that are in the yachting field, there's a certain type of mentality in that field as well. Yeah. So when we talk about yachting, it is a high level business field as well. And so that changes my life in two ways, not just for the comfort of that, but it also helps me understand how to be a better business person, because the reason why these high level people use that is because they understand the factor of the relaxation they need so they can go back and be powerful in business, so they can be strong in business. And that factor right there also allows them to use their yachting tools for business and not look at them as, hey, this is just a pleasure tool. No, this is part of my business. This is part of my what I do. is I entertain clients here. I speak with clients here. I meet with clients because it's easier maybe for me to travel by boat, and maybe take them out on the boat and make the deal and close the deal. So these are ways that I think for me, it's more important, because these are tools that I've been planning in the future to utilize or be a part of anyway. And so it fits into my future goals. It fits into my world. So it changes my world exponentially to catch that wave faster than I suspected.
But who knows, maybe suddenly it happens and you don't even realize, and then you're in and you ask yourself, oh, what happened? How did I came here? Yeah. So let's see what's going on in the future. But I heard you once when you had a speech, was on a video, I don't remember which one, which you sound so really, this crazy radio and television moderator. What is that? Can you bring in something like that? A sentence that you really rock the people here?
You know what time it is. That's right, folks. That's time for more In the Hot Box with Doc Reo. And I'm here today to talk to you more about super yachts. That's right, super yachts. One of the greatest things we know about super yachts is you can spend a lot of time with your friends, your family, your community. On a super yacht, you can talk with people about business. You can talk with people about anything and everything you want to. But most importantly, you can spend time on the water, relaxing and chilling and being part of a community. With that being said, back to you, Walter.
Wow, that was awesome. That was Doc Reo live in action in his own studio, where it's warmer than in Switzerland. He talks about speaking and presentation and entertaining people. That's the guy I'm looking for to have on my show. Well, Doc, I can learn a lot from you. I'll see that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I can learn a lot from you. And I think that's the best part about, collaboration, is that we're always learning. We're always connecting with people, and everybody in our group, I know there's other level groups that I'm going to be growing to get in, but this coaching experience is important for everybody across the board. I look at it this way. I'm a veteran in the United States Army, and I have a team at the VA, Veterans Association, or Veterans Administration, sorry. I have a team over at the VA, and they do one thing for me. I have one that's a primary care physician, one that's a social worker, one that's a mental health worker, and two that are peer counselors, and they communicate. To me, they're just like mentors. I mean, to me, they're just like coaches. I go to them, I ask them questions about my medical stuff. So they communicate together as a team, but I can talk to each one individually, and they're going to give me answers about things that I need. So if we're willing to do that with our doctors, if we're willing to do that with our physical health, or even with our mental health, why aren't we willing to do that with our business health?
That's
an important thing.
Very important and great question that we don't want to answer right now, because everyone has to make his own thought.
Yes. So that's that thought that I want everybody to leave everybody with, that kind of thought. Think about that for yourself. Do you want to do that? Why not? If it helps you grow. We don't want them to answer that right now.
No, not yet. It's not the right time. But we're coming slowly to end of the show. And but for this, first of all, thank you very much, Doc Reo. It was really awesome, an honor to me having you here on the show. But what are your last words to the listeners, to the viewers of this interview?
Remember that you have the power to help yourself grow, no matter what tool, whatever avenue, whatever process you're attempting to use. Every day, you got to encourage yourself, whichever way, whether it be, if it's about, I don't want to say it's about money, because if you're going to focus on money, you're not going to get there. You got to find whatever is deep in your heart that drives you, the why, the number one why that takes you to that next destination. And once you find that why, you'll be able to believe in yourself, because you'll work on the things that help you believe in yourself, and you'll imprint those ideas so that you start to make that trail. Like I was saying earlier, weirdly enough, I've been imprinting that I want to be connected with yachts, right? And it's imprinting, it's coming faster. So when we start to believe, we imprint, and we go out there and we look for ideas, we backtrack, we figure out how to reverse engineer things, retrieve things, so that we can take those steps and achieve those little bitty goals. And don't forget, when we have those little bitty goals, we got to remember the little wins. Sometimes we'll go through a struggle and we'll fix something. We'll just go, oh, okay, I fixed it. No, celebrate that win so that we remember what it's like when we get to the big win. All those little wins add up to the big win, because all those failures are us failing forward to succeed. So as we achieve, we succeed.
Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, your life part of, and all those great advices. And I hope that you as a listener and viewer can get as much out of it and implement it in your life, your business, and striving forward to your success, which is absolutely individual, not related only on money, but on happiness and on a great time in life, whatever it will be for you. Thank you very much. And we keep up with our topic later on in terms of the super yacht entry for Doc Reo. And in the meantime, take care, stay safe. And don't forget, always be happy and think about Doc Reo when he's on the phone, on the air, on the television, on the radio, doesn't matter. And he is the guy you have to listen to. Stay safe. This was the Walter Schmid Show for the Super Yacht Radio. Super Yacht says now. And see you next time. Bye.
Peace. I'm out of here. 'Cause you got to make this system go like the song, yeah.